the Essentially You podcast. Emily Fletcher, honey, how are you doing today?
I am happier now that I see your beautiful face and hear your beautiful voice.
Oh my goodness. I love that we just had a little mini moment to catch up before we got to jump into this beautiful interview with you. Ooh, so much going on. The last time we had you on was right when your brilliant book, Stress Less, Accomplish More, came out. And oh my gosh, what a whirlwind. And I get to see the whirlwind play out like on Instagram, on Facebook, minor catching up here and there. But I just want to hear about what has been your journey since this book literally hit the shelves, hit the stores over a year ago, and how not only it's just transformed your life, but also how it's transformed, we're talking about tens of thousands of people around the world.
So thank you for asking that. I felt like we were siblings on that journey because our books came out so close to each other.
Yes.
And it's funny, it was me, you, Todd Herman came out a week after. And I really felt like we were siblings, like just birthing these babies into the world simultaneously. And there's such an affection and a camaraderie, I think, that is born out of that. So yeah, but it's been a wild ride. So I'd say from a selfish point of view, what was most exciting was in the 2 days after the book came out, we watched it and it was climbing up the charts on Amazon. Like we were at 187 at our book launch and we were celebrating that at the party. And then the next day I was on all these podcasts and my team was holding up signs in the background. They're like, number 18, number 12, number 10. And we're freaking out. And then we got all the way to number 7. And so that was like a pop the champagne, number 7. We were next to Michelle Obama and Marie Kondo. We were like, yes. So that felt fun. But then the less selfish side of it was, as you said, over 50,000 people have read the book so far. And to hear these reports of people, because to be honest, it was a bit of an experiment. Like when I wrote the book, I did teach a gentle version of the Ziva technique inside of it. And there aren't that many books. There's lots of books about meditation. There aren't that many books that are teaching you a technique. And it was an experiment. I didn't know if it was going to work or not. Meditation is so visceral. It's so experiential. And to do that through the written word, through that left brain state of consciousness is a bit of a challenge. And yet it turns out the experiment is working. People's sleep is better. They are stressing less. They are accomplishing more. Their sex drive is up. Their immune systems are stronger. And they're being inspired to really deepen their meditation practice. And that feels incredibly rewarding. Not that it has anything to do with me, but I feel very grateful to be a part of the catalyst, to at least make the tools accessible so people have the opportunity to raise their hand and say, yes, I am ready to commit to my own greatness. I am willing to get out of this stress that is keeping me stuck and step into my full potential. And that is a gift that I'm very grateful for.
You are such a powerful facilitator, and you have opened the door for so many people to step into their beautiful life, right? That vision in which they're holding, because that's what I think about meditation is just opening the possibility for our best life, to live our best life. One of my favorite quotes that you say is, we meditate to get good at life, not to get good at meditation. And there is an important distinction, because a lot of us are caught up in thinking we have to be good at meditation. And I love your thought process around this.
Yeah, because it's like, who cares if you're a good meditator? There's so many things you need to be good at in life. You got to be a good partner. You got to be good at your job. You got to be good at the gym. It's like, really, let's stop trying to be good at meditation. Let's stop trying to clear our minds, because it's impossible anyway. The mind thinks involuntarily, just like the heart beats involuntarily. So instead of feeling like you're a meditation failure because you can't clear your mind, what if instead we start to gauge our progress by, how's my sleep? How's my immune system? How's my happiness? How's my sex drive? How's my, productivity, creativity, intuition? These are the markers by which I think we should be gauging whether or not the meditation is working.
I absolutely agree with you in so many words. I love that. And, that really speaks to, we thinking about the people in the world who are really phenomenal at what they do. I know that you've worked with top performers like Emmy performers, Oscar performers, Golden Globe winners, all kinds of amazing high achievers. And what is it? What is it like this? I think I focus it on they're not using meditation to be good at meditation. They're using meditation to be good at life.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think when these high achievers tap into your technique, what is it that really allows them to soar to their greatest potential?
Well, I think that the sad reality is that stress is making us stupid, sick, and slow. And a lot of us don't even realize the toll that it's taking on us. For many of us, it's become like white noise. It's just like that TV that's on in the background and we can't even hear it anymore. And it's not until we turn it off, we turn that stress off, that we realize how much more capacity we have. And so one of the reasons why I think people come to me at Ziva is that they know that I was a performer myself, so because I used to be on Broadway. And interestingly, this is a story I don't tell very much, but the last time I ever performed, I took the microphone from Liza Minnelli, I sang, and I handed it to Aretha Franklin. I was sandwiched in between them two. And then Barbara Streisand was the last performer. And so it was like, I'm not unfamiliar with like performing at a very high level. And so I think if your body is your instrument, if you're an athlete, if you're an artist, if you're a dancer, it's like you want to have someone that can understand what that level of pressure is like and that level of needing to perform in the moment. And so I think that's why originally people were drawn to me personally as a teacher. But I think the reason why it's spreading is just because the technique works. Like we're making tote bags that just say meditation that works. Because it's just so simple. And we're not an app. So I don't want people being addicted to me. I don't want people being tethered to their phone in order to meditate. It's like having an AA meeting in the liquor store. It's like, do you really want to go to your phone for a meditation? So while I do use technology and the book to get the tools in people's hands, ideally, once people either read the book or take one of my trainings, it's like, then you graduate and you have these tools to take with you for life. So I'm really big on self-sufficiency. And I think that's why people love it, is they can do it on set. They can do it in their office. They can do it with their kids in the next room, on an airplane. And the other thing is that most of what people are calling meditation, I would actually call mindfulness. So most of the apps, the YouTube videos, the drop-in studios are teaching what I would call mindfulness, which is very good at dealing with your stress in the now, like a state change. But what Ziva is doing is that it's getting rid of your stress from the past. It's a trait change. It's actually healing you on a cellular level. And it is that eradication of stresses from the past that's ushering you into higher states of cognitive performance. Because it's not just one stress. It's your parents' divorce. It's the move that you had when you were 10. It's the college you got kicked out of, the job you got fired from, the car wreck you got in. It's all these little stressors or big stressors that have left open windows on your brain computer. And so what meditation is doing is it's going in and closing down all those windows so that you have more of your mental and physical capacity available to you for the task at hand. And that's really where people are seeing the return on investment. And I think that's what high performers are interested in. Like if they're like, if I'm going to surrender 15 minutes of my day, I can't just spend those 15 minutes. I have to be investing those 15 minutes and I have to see an ROI. I need to get more time back. I need to get more productivity, because I don't think that any of us have time to spend or time to waste. We can only afford to meditate if it's giving us a net gain after we do it.
Well, and I know with your technique, you recommend morning and evening. Could someone get away with just a morning or just an evening? Can we get in where we fit in? Talk to me a little bit about the strategy around meditating for 15 minutes twice a day. And you're absolutely right. And then getting the full benefit of that down the road, because as a high achiever, both of us being that, I don't think either of us would choose in if it wasn't a net gain on the back end.
Yeah, totally. So, our mutual friend, Mark Hyman, he says for the few minutes a day that I invest in Ziva, I get back 3 hours of productivity in my day. That's in a day, not in a week. He's getting 3 hours extra productivity in a day. And so, yes, of course you can meditate just once a day, and that's certainly better than no times a day. So some meditation is always better than no meditation. And so likely for people hearing this, if they don't understand that ROI concept, if they don't have a visceral experience of investing time in something and they're getting more time back, then it might seem incomprehensible. But once you start to see, just like if I bought Amazon stock 10 years ago, I would have a lot more money than I do right now. If I bought Tesla stock a year ago, I would have a lot more money than I do right now. Same thing with meditation. If you invest those few minutes in, you get a lot of time back because your sleep becomes more efficient. Your decision-making is sharper. Your intuition is stronger. You're more creative. That stress is not making you as stupid, sick, or slow. So that gain is very real. However, if you don't have that experience yet, I could see where you'd want to negotiate. Well, can I just do it once? Can I just do it 10 minutes? Can I just do it 5 minutes? But I've taught now 20,000 people to meditate. We've done about 6,000 years of research on this stuff. So like, this is the program. This is the prescription. You know, you're a doctor. It's like your doctor gives you a prescription for 20 milligrams twice a day. You're not going to take 50 milligrams 5 times a day or 10 milligrams once a day. You're going to take 20 milligrams twice a day. And that's what this prescription is. And so once a day kind of puts you in a maintenance program. You're picking up stress, you're burning off stress, picking up stress, burning off stress, kind of like drinking a Coke and getting on the treadmill. You know, it's just calories in, calories out. I don't know if people drink Cokes or get on treadmills anymore, but just go with it. I did that once when I was in high school. I drank a Coke and I looked at the can. It was like 210 calories. And then I ran on the treadmill for 20 minutes and it was 210 calories. And I was like, well, that's dumb. And so I kind of stopped doing both of those things.
I mean, not all calories are created equal. However, yes. I totally understand what you're saying.
Yes. I mean, I get the calories in, calories out is not a good model anymore, but I was in high school. So
absolutely.
30 years ago. So anyway, once a day is a maintenance program. You know, it's just in and out. But twice a day, it's like you're doing cardio and strength training. You really start to see you have more energy, your clothes fit better, you're stronger. Like you start to see like, oh, this is worth it. Because you're not only getting rid of all the new stresses from the day, but it's the second sitting that allows you to get rid of that backlog from the past, which is really where the cognitive advances happen.
And I can see how you say if people aren't seeing that kind of tipping point for themselves, it's, you know, we've been trained to consider it as a maintenance mode. Let's talk about somebody without meditation for just a second. I know we touched upon it just a little bit, but I just want to spend a little bit of time on, you know, a life in which, you know, where people are just operating in, I always say that, you know, we go into a state of perceive stress about 50 times a day, unconscious, you know, and our bodies are constantly just trying to regulate and manage those moments of perceived stress, those survival triggers that our stress response system goes into. Talk to me about, you know, the difference between, you know, what happens with our body, what happens with our mental capacity, even our brain waves when we are living a life without meditation, and then when we can bring in a powerful meditative technique.
Yeah. So you're right in that most of us are pretty stressed. You know, Harvard Medical School is saying that stress is responsible for 90% of all doctors' visits. Scientists are calling it the Black Plague of our century. It can be responsible for anything from, you know, heart disease, infertility, autoimmune issues, brain degeneration, a breakdown in skin elasticity, everything. IBS, you know, insomnia, like you name it. Like stress is not doing us any favors in the health department. And when people think about meditation, oftentimes they think it's just a mental tool. They think, oh, that's just something for me to relax, or that's like a cute pedicure that I'll get around to when I have a little extra time. And I think that people are thinking that because most of what meditation is these days are these free apps where people do it for 10 minutes. They're like, oh yeah, I feel okay. Like I feel a little better, but they're not really getting like this life change. This like, it's not like, oh, this stress is dissolving and I am markedly different. And so this is why I'm on a bit of a soapbox here, is that one, not all meditation is created equal. They're doing different things to the body. Mindfulness is different than meditation, is different from manifesting, is different from a walk in the woods, which oftentimes people say to me, well, cooking is my meditation, or walking in the woods is my meditation. Like, nope. That's called cooking and walking in the woods, but we can talk about that later.
Those are both great activities too, in their own right.
Great activities. I am not dissing walking in the woods or cooking.
But it's not the same.
Just please don't call it meditation.
Yes.
And I would define meditation as where you're accessing a verifiable fourth state of consciousness, different than waking, sleeping, or dreaming. And in this fourth state of consciousness, your body is getting rest that's 5 times deeper than sleep. And we know that because your metabolic rate decreases, your heart rate slows, and your body temperature cools. So basically you're de-exciting everything in your body. And when you de-excite your nervous system, that accumulated stress that we have stored in our cellular memory, that stuff can start to come up and out. And that's sort of the phenomenon of those closing of the windows that I mentioned earlier, that analogy. And so really, once we get rid of those stresses in the cells, you have less baggage, you're less triggered. The thing about stress is that it's accumulating interest. You know, if you had a dog bark in your face when you were 5, you know, that's left a memory. It was a fight or flight stress response. It's left an open window in your brain, but it's accruing interest, meaning that every single time you see a dog for the rest of your life, there's a tiny little fight or flight. You know, if you had a terrible breakup with your ex-boyfriend and he wore, you know, cologne, that's left an imprint in your body. But every time you smell that cologne, it's like another little re-triggering. So it's not just the event, it's the accumulation of stress over time. And we're seeing it. We see it in our friends and our family members. You know, if you start a meditation practice and then go back to your 20-year high school reunion, I guarantee you're going to look and feel and sound different to your former classmates. It's like, we can't just gauge our progress from, well, here's homeostasis, and then the meditation is taking me this much up. Well, the math we need to be doing is, you know, what is stress costing us? Like, really, it's like there's a decline over time that happens to our brains, to our bodies, if we're not taking care of it. And so the gap really becomes more of like, if you're just listening to this, it's not just from horizontal to 45 degrees up, it's from 45 degrees down to 45 degrees up. Because again, the stress is accruing interest.
When I think when you're speaking about stress too, we're even talking trauma, you know, embedded trauma, things that have absolutely had an impact on us that we are carrying, that is kind of locked into our consciousness, locked into our cellular structures. I think stress and trauma are two of those really powerful intangibles that you can't green smoothie your way out of. You can't kale salad your way out of. We've got to have a different strategy in order to go in and, like you said, we were talking about, kind of wring out, you know, those stressors or those traumas, so we can get to a more not only productive place, but a place of peace and a place of healing.
Yes. And interestingly, you know, now that they've decoded the human genome, we're starting to realize that it's not just our own stress, it's the stress that we've inherited for at least 2 generations. Some people are saying 7. I've only been able to find scientific papers proving that we can inherit stress for 2 generations, but I've heard 7. Either way, every stress your mom had, every stress your grandmother had. And so if you're African American, if you're a descendant of slave, if you're a descendant of a Holocaust survivor, you know, that's possible that you're only 2 generations out of that. And that's not a small amount of trauma that we're dealing with. And so, you know, some people think, well, oh, I can't meditate, I don't have time, it's too selfish, my kids need me, my partner needs me, my job needs me. It's like, y'all, this is the least selfish thing you can be doing. Your husband wants you happy, your kids want you happy, your coworkers want you smart. They do not want you stupid, sick, and slow. And that is what stress is doing to us. And it's like, we have to learn to fill up our own cups first, because the more we fill ourselves up, the more we have to give. And just to speak to that ringing out phenomenon, you know, that's my job as a teacher, is to help people through that. I've been through it myself. Like I said, I've helped 20,000 people through it, so it doesn't scare me anymore. But that's also like, when that catharsis happens, it's when we do need to call on our other tools: essential oils, food, massage, baths, naps, walks, therapy, coaching. The meditation will move it up and out. I'm just mentioning all these other tools as coping mechanisms, supportive, so that you don't feel so alone, so that you feel more equipped to move through the catharsis.
That makes so much sense. I'm so glad we brought that to the forefront. You know, for me, as you mentioned, you know, struggling with stress, struggling with trauma, struggling with those intangibles that can have such a profound impact on you, on your relationships, on your work, on how you affect your community. We think those are, you know, that we're being selfless by continuing to just show up and not take care of ourselves. But you're absolutely right. It's one of the most selfish things that we can do. So for me, it got to a place where it was a non-negotiable, because I could tell the difference between when I was meditating and what it was doing for me, not only emotionally and physically, but it was really allowing me to show up in a bigger way, versus when I was, even if I thought I was managing stress well, there was still permeations of that coming into play. So I go so far as to say non-negotiable, it's one of the most powerful things that we can be doing for that level of healing.
Yes. 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 From preach it, sister, preach it.
That's where I stand. I mean, I know so often I bring on guests and I want to speak from my own personal experience. There was a time where I was like, oh, I don't have time for this, or I have these other techniques, or I have these other strategies in place. And then decided, you know what, no, this is something I need to try. I need to pursue. And the results, it's so hard to speak of it, like until you've done it. Like once you start doing it, it's one of those things that you have to do, because it makes such a profound impact on you. And so I want to just speak, as a Ziva meditator myself, and so happy to have you on, how much of an impact it's had on my life. And, how much, it's taken me a minute to get my husband on the train. He does a lot more mindfulness work. He does a lot of apps. He loves his apps, but moving him in that direction because he's seen how much of an impact it's had on me.
Well, I think that well, first of all, thank you for saying that. Second of all, thank you for committing. Third of all, I'm so happy that you've seen a shift in how you're able to show up in your work, because you're doing such beautiful work in the world. And if I've had any small role in fanning your flame, that feels exciting to me. And I think you're not alone in you being the trailblazer in your relationship. I think a lot of women are the trailblazers in these self-help modalities of therapy and yoga and meditation and essential oils. And so there's a real artistry to staying connected and true to yourself of like, well, this is non-negotiable for me, and being perceptive enough to know when and how to introduce these tools to our partners, to our siblings, to our parents, to our coworkers. Because, especially when you find something like meditation, at least for me, I was like evangelical. I was like, everyone has to do this, and I want to shout it.
Everybody.
Yeah. And then it's a little rude, and like, you need to meditate. And people are like, excuse me? It's kind of like recommending a weight loss camp to someone. They're like, pardon me? It's like, and so there's a concept called worthy inquiry. And it's basically like, does someone want to know about this? And are they willing to surrender something to access the tools? And it could be their time, it could be, a course fee, it could be volunteering, but like, is there some sort of an exchange that they're willing to make in order to get this life-changing practice? But as far as that goes at like a cocktail party, to me, where the inquiry is like, you might mention, oh yeah, I'm doing this Ziva meditation thing, and someone's ears are going to perk up and they're going to start asking more questions, and they're going to be like, wait, tell me more. And then they're displaying worthy inquiry and they're giving you permission to keep talking. Other people are like, yeah, cool meditation, and they just keep texting, and then there's no worthy inquiry. And then our job is to go have some ice cream, or, like, just stop talking. And I think it's especially hard when it's our partners or our families or someone that their happiness directly impacts our happiness, and so it's like, but just please try it. And so I feel you on this. And I wish I had more profound answers of how to, I do actually have one good piece of advice. And that is, if you want to inspire the people around you to have worthy inquiry, the best thing that we can do is just clean our own house. We just keep cleaning our own house, shining brighter and brighter. And then eventually, like you said, your husband's like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah. I want someone like, what's up with that? What you got that I don't have?
Yeah. What's up with that? Do you remember that SNL sketch?
Oh my God.
What's up with that?
I love that SNL sketch.
And Jason Sudeikis in his like running suit. So funny.
It's one of the, we have binge watched those What's Up With That episodes.
Yes,
and good. I will say it out of nowhere. I'll be like, what's up with that? Alex is like, ooh, wee.
And the running man. Oh, just Jason Sudeikis in a fro. So good.
It's so good in the tracksuit.
Yes. Oh my God. My director of operations is getting her dad a yellow, like a garnet tracksuit. The What's Up With That tracksuit. He's going through a really hard time and he loves that sketch. So he's getting him the tracksuit.
Oh, that is so perfect. Oh my goodness. It could be like, it could be Beyonce's Ivy Park color.
I just went online and it's sold out. The whole collection is sold out.
Yeah, it's sold out like in the first 24 hours.
Good for her. You go, Beyonce.
Go Beyonce. But you're absolutely right. Like I remember when I was introducing smoothies to my family, like they weren't even touching it. They didn't want nothing to do with it. And so I just chip away at doing all these healthy things, and people always like kind of checking out, looking at what we're doing next. And Alex is always usually, when it comes to nutrition, we eat the same thing. So he's always on that train. And so it's just time where Alex is finally jumping on the train But I think you're right. You doing you cleaning your own house, you letting people know you are living your best life, and kind of how you're living your best life really opens the door for another kind of conversation, like, well, what are you doing where you get to live your best life? And well, this is what I'm doing. So I think the more we just chip away at those conversations, it really begins to open the door for what's possible. And, I cannot tell you how many times Ziva Meditation has been mentioned on this show, girl. And on other podcasts I've been on where, it comes up, and I'm like, well, the kind of technique that I use is Ziva Meditation. And so it's just and I just love how I get to kind of like, like mention it here and there, because it's always that kind of that right time to mention it. It's happening. We're having these conversations,
Well, thank you for planting the seeds, and
absolutely.
thank you for committing. And with two things that I want to say. One is I love planting the seeds of your work as well. As I've alluded, we're working on a kids course right now. Like, we're deep in research and development for a kids course. And I'm so excited to include your previous book in there, The Smart Mom's Guide to Essential Oils. And on that same note of worthy inquiry, I interviewed my best friend yesterday. Like, we interviewed a bunch of experts yesterday to contribute for the kids course. And my best friend has 3 kids, and all 3 of them meditate. And she meditates around them. Like, I'm a meditation teacher, and I've only meditated around my son like once. I mean, he's 1.5, and I have the luxury of having a nanny. So I meditate like when she's here. So I don't normally meditate in the room with him. But my friend does not have a nanny. She's a full-time mom to 3 kids, and she does meditate with her kids. And I was like, girl, yeah, I need a master class. Like, I'm going to need all your tips and tricks. Please teach me. And interestingly, she said she has not once ever asked or suggested or made her kids meditate. It was all on them. It was all them coming to her and saying, like, what are you doing? I want to learn. I'm interested. And that's because she was doing it around them. So she was modeling the behavior. She was allowing them to be in her sphere when she was doing, which is probably annoying AF, to meditate with like a toddler around is not fun. But then because she would just kind of, like, quote unquote, suffer through like a little bit of annoyance, like eventually it became a ritual, and eventually they started protecting it for her. And then they came to her with that worthy inquiry, which was one piece that was relevant to our conversation. But another thing that I want to add to that is that an interesting byproduct is that her kids started seeing her regulating her own emotions. And this is kind of speaking to like, I don't have time to meditate. I have kids and a job and whatever. But kids are narcissistic by nature. They have to be to survive. And so they think if mommy's sad, it's my fault. If daddy's angry, I did something to make daddy angry. And so if you're not regulating your own stress, if you're not managing your own emotions, then your kids can't help but take that personally and think that they've done something wrong. And what was fascinating to me is when my students started reporting, well, I'm meditating and my kids are seeing it, and they see that when I meditate, I'm happier, I'm less stressed, I have more energy. And then if I miss my meditation, I'm crankier, I'm more tired, I don't have as much energy. And so they start to police it for them. Like, Mama, you're mean. Did you meditate today? And they start to see that they're not responsible for their parents' emotions. They're like, oh, that's on you. You didn't practice the tool that you have, so it's not my fault. And I was like, wow, what a beautiful, unexpected byproduct of you meditating, even though you have kids. So I just imagine a lot of folks are listening and being like, well, I don't have time to meditate because I have kids. And it's like, look, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Include them in your experience. Tell them that you're doing it. And then in a couple of months, stay tuned, because we're going to have a kids course coming at you.
I love it. Well, and I think, it's talking about leaving a legacy of what we want for our family and for our children. And clearly we want our children to be, emotionally happy. We want them to be physically and mentally balanced and really doing the big work in the world that they were put on this earth to do. And when they get to see that modeled and what's possible, many of us struggle with being able to just observe emotions or be able to let stress bounce off of us because we've been living in such a, a stressed state, or we've had lots of past traumas that we just haven't dealt with. And being able to bring that in, and being able to have children see that and realize what's possible for them in helping to support their own emotions, or helping to be able to kind of, ask themselves, why am I feeling this way? Like, what's going on here? That's such a powerful legacy to be able to leave to our families. And it really changes the landscape of how we manage life and how we rocket life over time.
Yeah. Let's start rocking it, life. Let's see how good it can get.
Absolutely. Well, honey, okay. So we know the book's been out for a year, but I believe, is there a book update?
Yeah, so it's coming out in paperback
Yes.
real soon, which is so exciting. And it seems like not a big deal, but honestly, like, as you know, like with a hardcover book, it's like they're heavy. You can't put that many in your purse. Like with a paperback, it's like you could bring some to your church group, you could bring them to your office, you can start a book club. Like they're more accessible both financially and they're lighter weight. So you can put more in your purse. And that's been a fun thing that's been happening. People are like starting book clubs, like in their schools, in their churches, in their offices, because, you know, someone like you, they start and they're like, whoa, this is really having an impact on me. I'd love to like make this tool available to people that I love. So yeah, I'm really excited about the paperback launch. And it's just been, I mean, you probably have some exciting stories to share too about how your life has changed or your company has changed since your book has come out.
Oh my gosh, it's been such a whirlwind. It's been such an awesome experience. But I think one of my favorite things, just like you, is hearing about the book clubs or hearing about the like people doing the program together. Like I love it when women are like, "Oh my God, this works," and all of you are doing it with me. Like I hear that all the time. I was connecting with a reader of mine who's like, "Yeah, we're starting your 14-day program on the 15th of February because we're all doing Valentine's Day first." You know, and this is before Valentine's Day as we were recording it, and I just loved that. And she was like, "Yep, I'm making so and so and so and so and so and so," and I'm sure she's not making them, but I just love that is happening. I love books like yours where there is, you know, not only is there just an understanding, but also a way in which everyone can do it together, you know, and get to teach it. And so I love it when people can take something and they've got that beautiful material and they're able to teach it or share it. It's just, it's so powerful. And that's why I loved your book from the get-go, because not only was there the understanding, but then kind of that cue into actually doing it.
Thank you. And I read Marie Forleo released a video a couple of weeks ago, and I'm forgetting the exact number, but it's pretty high. It was like somewhere between like 28 and 48%. You're more likely to commit to something if you do it with a friend or a buddy. If you have some sort of an accountability partner, it increases your chance of success like a massive amount.
Oh my gosh,
I'll find out the exact number. Maybe we'll put it in the show notes.
And you know what? And I heard it too. I was listening to her show, and oh my goodness, I can remember that moment, and it is a high number. I mean, accountability is everything. Whether you're touching in with your spouse or your partner, you're touching in with a best friend. That there's something to be said about. And really, I love gentle accountability and fun accountability.
Making it fun.
I love when the kids are checking in with her, or you're like, you know, I love kids where they're like, did you do your thingy thing? Did you take your supplements today? Like, kids can be also a great level of accountability for us as well. Well, honey, I am so happy. I'm so not only excited about and I agree. I'm not going to lie. I love your book as a hardcover, but I am really excited about the paperback because it will be easier to put into, and take it on the plane, put it in your purse.
Go to the beach.
How we, go to the beach. You know how we women do. We're just always, I have a book in my purse pretty much all the time. So I totally can relate to that. And I'm just so happy that you are facilitating so many incredible people out there doing this good work in the world. Emily, honey, so proud of you.
Well, I love you. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for the work that you're doing in the world. And it feels fun to be on this journey with you.
Oh my gosh. Ditto, girl. All right, I'll see you soon.
Okay. Bye, friends. Bye.